Good afternoon, Vinyl community. It's David Michael. How you doing? It's December 7th, 2016. By the way, I'm filming this in front of my Christmas tree in my music room, so I'm not sure if the glare is a bit much for you, so I apologize. I thought since this is a year in review video, I would include my Christmas tree. So anyways, cheers everyone. How you doing? I thought what I would do, like I just told you, is we're going into the Christmas season. 2016 is almost over. I thought I would share with you, depending on this how this one does, how reaction is to this one, a year in review of some of my best and favorite finds from 2016, and divided into kind of genres of music. This one, I'm going to start off with metal. Metal is a very subjective term. It means what it means to you. To me, it could be, you know, I grew up in the 80s, so the hair metal, and before that you had, you know, the Venom kind of Merciful Fate stuff. So it's all over the place for me with metal. So to me, what I'm going to show you is some of my favorite finds from 2016 in the maybe kind of hard rock metal genre. There's quite a bit, so I'm going to reserve comment unless I feel it warrants it. So I'm going to just grab a stack here, and you have to excuse me if I'm bending over and grabbing stacks, but this is some of my best finds from 2016. So starting off with AC/DC, Who Made Who. Unto itself not a spectacular hard album to find. I just couldn't find a decent condition original copy, which I did this year. Someone who follows me on this channel, his name is Dylan. And Dylan, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I believe there's 3 albums you sold me at the Calgary Record Fair in the spring of 2016, and I believe this was one of them. Aerosmith Pump, an original pressing in the shrink with the language warning and the original price sticker. This was $12.99 at a department store called Zellers in Canada. And I'm going to preface this by saying most of these were from, not most, a lot of these were from one seller locally who was selling off his metal collection. He had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And those I got for $5 a piece because I was buying so much in bulk. In fact, I made several trips to his place. Some of them are from record fairs, and a lot of them are from thrift stores. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a background where all these finds kind of were coming from. Anthrax, Armed and Dangerous. This and 2 albums I'm going to show you right away. I work nights, and my wife sometimes goes out to thrift stores at night when I'm working, and she shops for her stuff that she likes to collect. And I got a text one day at work, hey, I found these 3 albums, do you want them? Excuse me, and after freaking out, I said, send me photos. This is an original Megaforce pressing of Armed and Dangerous by Anthrax that she got from a thrift store. This next find, I'm going to quickly tell you that one of my favorite, for whatever reason, I don't know why, it resonates with me for some reason, one of my favorite hard rock / metal albums is this one, Blue Oyster Cult Imaginos. Now I got this in 2015. This is the UK blue vinyl version. Sorry, get the glare out of there. For whatever reason, it's a concept album, and the story is so convoluted that I still don't get it fully, even though I've read lengthy essays on what the story's about. It's kind of it's a confusing thing. But I love the album. I burned through cassettes of that one and different CD copies of it, and for whatever reason, I just love that. I love this album, and I suggest to you, if you want a really hard rocking Blue Oyster Cult album, I recommend listening to Imaginos. But I found the original UK single for the first single off that album, which was a re-recording of their song from the 70s, Astronomy. Now what's cool about this is that when the song went to radio on promo singles and on this single, there is a spoken word intro by Stephen King that was only available on a promo single that went to radio, like I said, and this 12-inch single. As you can see, it's intro by Stephen King, who was a huge Below Easter Cold fan. The spoken word part by itself appeared on their box set, which I have over there. But this was the first time I was able to get it as it went to radio. And I was really excited to find this one. Sorry. Best of Budgie. You can dispute whether they're metal, hard rock. God knows they've influenced enough metal bands, haven't they? Now with the Anthrax, I pulled the wrong one. I just realized this is Holy Diver. This was a find from this year, but it wasn't the one I intended to pull. So I'm just going to throw this over here then. I intended to pull Last in Line from my metal rack over there. My wife, with the Anthrax, she found a copy of Dio, Sacred Heart, and a copy of Last in Line, which stupidly I pulled the wrong one to show you. But those were the three finds that she had from that thrift store that one time I was just telling you about. Dirty Looks. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Dirty Looks. That's a gold stamp promo from Warner. I might have shown this in a previous video. I tried not to pull too many albums that I've already showed in other videos. Because me making vinyl find videos is a relatively new thing. So I tried not to show too many of those. So if there's duplicates, I apologize. And I think I did show this one in a previous video. Dogs D'Amour. Really great, bluesy, sleazy hair metal. And I need a drink. D'Amours. I'm not sure if, I hope a lot of you recognize these kind of bands from the 80s. D'Amours were one of the better kind of hair metal bands. Extreme Pornograffiti. This is an original Brazilian press. And I'm not sure if I showed this in the previous video, but this was from a local seller from Brazil, who I can't remember if I answered an ad he placed or he answered an ad that I placed, or one of those two, and I went to his house and he has all these Brazilian pressings of records, and that was one of them. So that was a really exciting find. I've never seen that on vinyl before. Exodus, Bonded by Blood. This is an original Bonsai Records pressing that I found. Lita Ford, Stiletto. I spent a long time looking for this album. And when I found it this year, I was super excited. And then since then, I've seen 2 or 3 other copies at used record stores. So when it rains, it pours. I hadn't seen it for years and years, and then I found one. Super excited. Then not so excited when I started seeing other copies pop up. Nonetheless, my Lita Ford collection was complete with this one. The Four Horsemen. Nobody Said It Was Easy. That was from a local seller here in Edmonton. The Hangmen. I think you kind of have to be up on your hair metal, your kind of obscure hair metal from the 80s and early 90s to know who the Hangmen were. They were a Canadian band, kind of that bluesy, sleazy metal sound. And this is a really hard album to find. So I'm not sure if they made more than one album. This album is fantastic. I recommend, if you're into this kind of music, give this a sample. Good old Gorky Park. Who doesn't remember Gorky Park? I quite like this album. I remember hearing them on that Make a Difference Foundation benefit album, if you guys remember that one, who were into metal. They had Ozzy and Motley Crue and Bon Jovi doing covers, and Gorky Park did a cover of My Generation from The Who that's on this album, and it's really good. A really good different version of that song. It's definitely not a straight ahead cover. That was a nice find. Judas Priest, Rock'n'Rolla. This is a Canadian on the GRT label. That was an odd enough find. That was from that Calgary. Ooh, I almost dropped it. Whew. Calgary Record Fair in the spring. That that gentleman who sold me Aerosmith sold me that one as well. This is a super exciting find for me. This is going to come out of left field. This is Steve Jones, Fire and Gasoline. Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols. I loved this album in high school. I played the hell out of the cassettes. And then I found the CD a few years after that, which was a rare thing. I think it's been reissued since then. And the vinyl was kind of a rare thing in my parts. And I found the vinyl. This is a fantastic hard rock album / metal. Ian Astbury and Billy Duffy from The Cult are on this. Axl Rose is on this. It's like one of those who's who kind of thing where they all got together and helped Steve make this album. As Steve was kind of recovering from heroin addiction, they kind of all got behind him and they made this album. It features a cover of I Did You No Wrong, a Sex Pistols song, which was the first song he ever wrote for the Sex Pistols, oddly enough. Fantastic album. I can't recommend this enough. In 2016, I found a copy of Junkyard, first album. Jet Boy, Feel the Shake. Found a copy of London, Don't Cry Wolf. You might know London is one of those kind of hard luck LA bands that a lot of people cut their teeth in London, like Nikki Sixx, I think Blackie Lawless, possibly. A lot of people were in London and they went on to join much bigger bands and have much bigger success. In London, they never really got beyond the kind of indie label circuit. So I found a copy of an original indie pressing from 1986 of Don't Cry Wolf. Kix, Blow My Fuse. Oddly enough, I don't really find a lot of Kix albums around, so when I found this one, I was excited about that. Keel. This is, I think, their third or fourth album. Might be their fourth. And it's not the most spectacularly awesome album. I just remember it was one of those few cassettes I had in high school when, my parents didn't give me money for music. I had to kind of earn my own money for music. So I only had, not a lot of tapes anyways. And this was one of them I just blindly bought. And it has my favorite Keel song, Somebody's Waiting, is on this one. And it's just one of those rare albums I just never came across on vinyl. And then when I found it, this was from that guy's house I was telling you about, who was selling his collection privately. And I found this, and it's one of those moments where you finally find an album you've been looking for since high school on vinyl. And I got it. And it's better than I remember. Sorry, I'm out of frame here. I'm going to try to speed this along for you. I found an original Bonsai Records pressing of Creator, Pleasure to Kill. Leatherwolf, Street Ready. A lot of these are kind of like that B and C League hair metal bands from the late 80s, early 90s. And a lot of those bands I love, so I make no apologies for it. Metal Church, Blessing in Disguise. Amazing album. A lot of you guys might know this. If you don't, please listen to this album. Love Hate, Blackout in the Red Room. Probably in my top 10 hard rock albums from that era. Paul Lane, Stick It in Your Ear. That's an obscure one. He was a Canadian singer who had a really good backing band and released a pretty decent kind of hard rock hair metal album what was it, 1990? I believe it was. I'm trying to read the back and my eyesight's horrible, but I believe it's 1990. It's actually a really good album. And kind of collectors of obscure metal were always asking me if I would trade this album, and no. But that was a nice find in this year, 2016. I'm going to show you 2 for 1 here. Lizzie Borden, Master of Disguise. That was sealed when I found this. And the Murderous Metal Roadshow. This is a great concept album. I love this one. Like Keel, I had this tape in high school, and I loved it. And then this is probably one of my favorite live albums of the era. Really, and if you can find the DVD, what an amazing show this is. Michael Monroe, Not Faking It. Michael Monroe of Hanoi Rocks fame. One of my favorite thrash metal albums of all time. I know people always talk about Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, Slayer, Exodus, Death Angel, but I'm going to throw in Onslaught, In Search of Sanity. This has Steve Grimmett from X of Grim Reaper on vocals, the one album he did with these guys, and it's an incredibly good thrash metal album. I encourage you to, if you have not heard this album, have a listen to it. I'm a huge fan of Queensryche, and especially their Operation Mindcrime album. A lot of people are. I found the 12-inch single for Eyes of a Stranger. That was an exciting find for me. Excuse me. I'm getting very wordy and talking a lot. Sorry, I'm trying to hurry up this video as to not bore everyone here. Raging Slab. This is their first major label album. Definitely one of my most favorite hard rock / metal albums of the time. As the album cover would infer, if you don't know these guys, it's kind of like if Leonard Skinner entered late 80s, 90s and discovered metal. It's just bluesy, hard rock, metal awesomeness. Scorpions' Crazy World I found a copy of. That had eluded me forever. It's not one I find around here very often. This is a German copy. Sabotage in the Hall of the Mountain King. Skid Row, Slave to the Grind. You don't see this very often, do you? And I can't believe I found this, and I did. I mean, Skid Row didn't do a whole lot of albums. It was the 3, so it's kind of hard to say. That's my favorite Skid Row album, but I think it's definitely better than the first album, and it's definitely better than the third album, so that would make it my favorite Skid Row album, Slave to the Grind. Trickster. Talk about your lightweight hair metal. And upon re-listening, it's not bad. It's light and fluffy and inoffensive, but damn catchy, I thought. Tokyo Blade, Midnight Rendezvous. It's an original bonsai pressing. Found that. Before I finish up here, these aren't all my metal finds from 2016. These are kind of, for whatever reasons, some of my more favorite ones. If I was to pull all of my metal finds from 2016, I'd be making a 4-part video. I've had a very good year. And I'm going to end it with 3 albums by Poison. I found a copy of Swallow This Live. Now that's a rare one. Couldn't believe I found that one. Flesh and Blood in the Shrink with the Hype sticker. And I'm going to end it with Poison, Open Up and Say Ah, but this isn't just any pressing of Open Up and Say Ah. I have that one. I have 2 different pressings of that one. The uncensored cover with the full girl, that face with the tongue, and then one with the black bars on top. This is a radio promo copy, double album. And this copy went to radio the weekend before release, and radio stations played it to hype the album for the Tuesday release date. And it has interview clips that the DJs would play, and one of those things where they would talk and play the record, pretend Poison was answering them. It's got interview clips, it's got specially cut intros by the band. You know, okay, this is Poison you're listening to, that kind of stuff. Just out and out interviews, and it's got, of course, songs off of Open Up and Say Ah. But the cool thing is, if you can see this, it's got instrumental versions of the songs. I don't know if you can make that out or not, or if you want to make it out. It's got instrumental versions of the songs that stations would play in the background while talking about the album, or whatever they would do with it, make their own radio spots or whatever. Like I said, and then it's got songs off the album. But that was like $5, promo only, on Enigma Capitol Records. I don't know if you can see that, probably not. That was a hell of a good find, and it was like next to nothing this guy sold it to me for, in mint condition. If you like Poison, that was one hell of a nice find. I got through it. Whew. So anyways, if you like this video, if people seem to like it, I'll maybe make some more of other genres of finds I've had in 2016. If people think this is too long, at least I did one. So anyways, I hope you like this video. Hopefully there's enough people did like it where I can make some more finds of other kinds of music. 2016 was a really good year. Not as good as 13, 14, and 15 as you all know, everyone and their dog is in there buying vinyl at thrift stores and to make it even worse, I'll go into thrift stores and I'll see used record shop owners in there trying to find stock for their stores. So you're competing against people now, even more people than ever, and you're dealing against vendors from antique malls and vendors from proper used record stores and whatnot. So it's kind of getting very dog eat dog in the used vinyl world. So I'm amazed I had the finds I did have this year. So once again, thanks for watching. If you made it through this video, I appreciate all your comments. Yeah. So from my music basement with my Christmas tree, take care everyone, and I'll see you soon. Take care.